My name is Gwendolyn and I am a senior here on the forensics team. And welcome to our exhibition. I'm very excited to have you all here today. We appreciate you coming. We have an exhibition every year, so that way we can show off our talent of the team and let you guys know what we do every weekend throughout the fall and the spring semester. And first, we're going to go ahead and get started with our IPDA strike. So we'll have Owen and Ize come down. Owen and Ize are both sophomores. You can kind of set up in front of the camera. And they're going to be debating for today. Owen is the affirmatives and Ize's the negation. And the negation strikes first. They'll get 5 topics and they'll take turns striking. And then once they have picked a topic, they'll get 30 minutes to prep. A couple people will leave with them to go help. And when they're done prepping, they'll come back in and have a debate round. All right, you guys ready? Yes. These are the resolutions. Two.
I'm gonna strike 4.
I'm gonna strike 5.
3. Number 1.
Okay.
Probably valuable.
All right, you guys time for us now. We'll be debating laptops in college classrooms do more harm than good. And as you just heard, Ize asked Owen what type of round. There's 3 types of rounds. There's a value, policy, and fact. And Owen, you said you're running it as a fact. So we'll uphold the resolution as it being true, and we'll talk about the values within that. Okay. Give people a second to head out. Good luck prepping. All right. Up next, we're going to go ahead and move into some of our speeches that we do. We have a couple of different types of speeches. We have interpretive speeches and platform speaking. First, we're going to have a platform speaker come up and do a persuasive speech. We're going to have Dee come on up and give her persuade. The platform speech of persuasive speaking is a 10-minute long event where the student can choose a topic of any choice as long as it is persuasive and they're trying to convince you of an argument. So, do you accept it? Yes.
Imagine if Hollywood's best kept secret for weight loss isn't some crazy hours in the gym or special juice cleanse made of kale, celery, a dash of unicorn tears, and of course, the gentle whisper of an avocado soul. But instead, something that you could pick up at your local pharmacy. Some of the favorite trendsetters today, such as Kylie Jenner, Oprah Winfrey, Kelly Clarkson, have not found the latest beauty fix like they usually do. Instead, they have found a surprisingly magic one that isn't magical at all. In fact, it's a common medication initially designed to treat a chronic condition. The medication in question is Ozempic. According to NPR on July 1st of 2023, initially designed to treat diabetes, this medication has become the unexpected tool of choice for rapid weight loss among celebrities and around 15.5 million more people. But behind the glamorization of this drug lies a darker reality. The current misuse of Ozempic is causing significant health risks, supply chain issues, as well as ethical concerns. The core problem lies with the non-diabetic individuals taking this medication, exacerbating the shortage and even compromising the life of those that live with diabetes. So to understand the issue at hand, let us first look at the problem, second, analyze some of the causes associated with the problem, and finally conclude with some solutions. So first, what is the problem? Let's begin by looking at the intended as well as unintended use of Ozempic and the problematic shortage that it's currently causing. According to the European Medical Agency, Ozempic was developed by Novo Nordisk to manage the blood sugar level of those with type 2 diabetes in December of 2017. FDA further states that Ozempic increases levels of incretins, hormones produced by our stomach after eating. These hormones increase levels of insulin, reduce glucose production, and slow down digestion. For millions of patients, this medication is a lifeline, helping them avoid significant health consequences caused by diabetes, such as heart disease, kidney failure, and even sometimes nerve damage. However, the current alert of rapid weight loss has resulted to the off-label use of Ozempic. Off-label use, as defined by the FDA, refers to the prescription of a drug for an unapproved condition. According to Medical News Today on April 4th of 2023, the off-label use of Ozempic has become a significant concept, with a lot of social media influencers sharing their weight loss results. This has led to shortages. According to NPR on July 1st of 2023, the sudden popularity of Ozempic has led to the inaccessibility of the medication. According to CNBC News, to put this further into perspective, diabetes patients in the United States require around 152 million milligrams of Ozempic annually. Currently, 52 million milligrams of the drug supply is being used off-label. This means 29.8% of the drug supply is being diverted from its intended use. Furthermore, the telehealth company Ro built an online tool that helps diabetes patients report shortages around their area. The tracker received 35,000 reports 2 weeks after its launch, showcasing how dire the issue at hand is. In addition to this problematic shortage that we're seeing, there are also significant health consequences associated with the misuse. According to the Daily Mail on September 9 of 2023, there have been more than 100 deaths linked to the off-label use of Ozempic. GoodRx also found in their research that after 1 year of using the medication, people gained 2/3 the weight they had lost back, showcasing what people think the medication is doing and what the medication is doing in reality is completely different. With an understanding of what some of the problems are, let us now move into the two main causes: social and media, and of course, celebrity influence. Let's first look at celebrity influence. Celebrities and influencers, also known as the trendsetters, have significantly impacted the popularity of Ozempic. According to NPR, the sudden popularity of Ozempic is rooted in celebrity culture. Influencers such as Kim Kardashian, Oprah Winfrey, Kelly Clarkson, Elon Musk, you name them, have all contributed to the ongoing frenzy. Oprah Winfrey's endorsement, for example, shows a broader societal sentiment. The fact that there is a medication out there to help me manage my weight and keep me healthy in my lifetime feels like a redemption, like a gift, and not something to hide behind or once again be ridiculous for. Such endorsements from high-profile figures have not only normalized Ozempic, but have also popularized it as a quick and effortless weight loss, disregarding the significant side effects associated with it. Second, the desire for quick and effortless weight loss is particularly high in the age of social media, where appearances are constantly scrutinized as well as compared to. Social media platforms such as TikTok have amplified this trend. According to the Wall Street Journal, the hashtag Ozempic has garnered over 1.5 billion views, contributing to ongoing trends such as the Ozempic hand, where users showcase their hand before and after weight loss, attributing their weight loss specifically to Ozempic. This widespread promotion of the medication has led to shortages, but also more importantly, about issues that don't address the fact that this medication has a side effect. Some of these side effects include gastrointestinal issues like diarrhea, vomiting, and nausea, and even more serious issues such as pancreatitis, and in some cases, thyroid cancer. Furthermore, the high demand and limited supply of this medication is leading to price hikes, making it inaccessible for diabetic patients. Some insurance companies have started to restrict claims, claiming that the off-label use is a reason for the demand. With an understanding of the problems as well as some of the causes, let us now move into solutions. The most direct solution is for non-diabetic patients to stop purchasing Ozempic. Public campaigns emphasizing the importance of preserving the drug for those that actually need it have seen some success. For example, a recent campaign done by the American Diabetes Association found significant success when it comes to raising awareness about this issue. The campaign was called Save the Meds and encourages individuals to think twice before purchasing the medication and even warns of the significant side effects associated with it. Second, if you or anyone you know is considering using Ozempic for weight loss, it is essential to first look at natural methods. Adapting a balanced diet and incorporating regular exercises into your day-to-day life has a significant impact. Not only are these impacts natural, but they're also sustainable. However, if you put in these constant efforts and you still don't see the desired impacts, then it is essential to consult your physician. They can look at your case and see if other medications such as Wegovy, which is specifically approved for weight loss, can be appropriate for your case. Finally, social media platforms should take accountability for the spread of misinformation. Users like you and I can help by reporting posts that amplify or raise the issue of Ozempic, and even in some cases, share posts that regard the significant side effects of Ozempic. So today, we looked at the problem of the use of Ozempic. Second, analyzed some of the causes associated with this problem, and finally concluded with some solutions. So while Hollywood might not have found its answers in kale, celery, or unicorn tears, it's very clear that Ozempic is not a quick fix either. What started as a medication for a serious issue has now troubled into a spiraling trend, causing significant impact not only to oneself, but also to the society as well.
Thank you so much, Dee. Dee is also a senior this year on the team, so give her one more big round of applause. In addition to our prepared speeches for platforms and interps, we also have a limited prep series. We have extemporaneous speaking and impromptu speaking, and we're gonna have Sarah come up and give us an impromptu today. So everyone welcome Sarah. For impromptu, you are given 7 minutes, and within the 7 minutes, you have to pick a quotation, prepare your speech, and then deliver a speech. So Sarah has her quotation right here. She's going to flip it over, start preparing, and when she's ready, she'll come up here and deliver the rest of her speech with time allotted. So whenever you're ready. Are you giving 30 seconds or less?
Six minutes left.
You know what you're really thinking. You're thinking about all the finals that you have on your doorstep after you walk out of here. And I want you to know it's gonna be okay. 10 minutes is gonna go by and then you'll be able to go work on it. But the thing that I want you to know is that no matter how they go, it will be okay. Because even in failure, you can learn to persevere. And that is what leads you to success. Which is what we find in the quotation today from Winston Churchill: success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And we're going to agree with this quotation as we interpret it to mean that perseverance leads to success. And we're going to see how this is true by first looking at the idea of the Christian principle of perseverance, then looking into the real life example of Belva Ann Lockwood before finally wrapping up with the story of Fruits Basket, an animation TV series. So today, let's look first to understanding how perseverance leads to success by looking at the Christian principle and what it has to say about perseverance. Now, in the New Testament, what it talks about is not the idea that we need to be perfect, that our salvation depends on good works, or the idea that we need to have perfection in order to attain a relationship with God. Rather, it acknowledges that we are going to fail in this life again and again and again, because as humans, we are imperfect creatures. None of us in this room have experienced a life absent of some failure, but there's hope in that. Because in the New Testament, it talks about how the point of our life is not to be perfect, but to go from failure to failure and get back up again when we reach those stumbling blocks. That the point of our life is to be a race and to get to the end of it, persevering toward the ambitions and the virtues of a good life, even with the knowledge that we won't be able to attain them fully, but rather to continue hoping and to live a good life through that progress and through that perseverance. So now that we understand the Christian idea behind perseverance and how it leads to a successful life in the pursuit of virtue and what God expects from us, let's now look into the idea of Belva Ann Lockwood and how it can also lead, perseverance can also lead to a life that brings about societal change. Belva Ann Lockwood was an American feminist back when it wasn't a thing to do. It was back in the 1800s where her life was one seeking equality in a time where that wasn't granted to her. And rather, people didn't want her to have equal pay, didn't want her to be able to go to college. And as I see by many of us here, including me, that's changed. She said that she was not going to settle for the societal roles that she was given, even when she was faced with choices like when a school board told her that she could work as a teacher at the school, but she would receive lower pay. She decided instead to take that opportunity that many would think as a success, to take it instead what many people would think of as a failure and reject it, because she was only going to accept roles in which she was granted equality. She went on again to apply to colleges and get rejected. But she went further on and continued with that enthusiasm to go until she reached someone who was willing to accept her to a college. And she became one of the first women to do so. She later went to speak in front of the Senate and be an advocate for change in women's equality in ways that we still feel affects today. But that was only done through the perseverance that led to her success. So now that understand the Christian principles of perseverance and how it's played out in the life of Belva Ann Lockwood, let's look to the life of one other girl in the story Fruits Basket, which is a Japanese animation that focuses on a girl who lives with an unusual family, one that is possessed by zodiac animals. Now, in this story, which is rather bizarre, Toru, who is the girl mentioned, is a rather unusual person. She has a life that has been hallmarked by failures, whether it's not doing well in school, whether it's the consequences of situations in her life like her mother passing away, where many people saw her as someone who came from a more unfortunate background. But the thing that stood out about her is that she never gave up. She persevered in the sense that she always brought the as well, and saw it as a motivational aspect of their life where they could have hope about the future, even when there were failures and things that tried to push against them in this life. And because of that, she was able to bring a sense of success and love and well-being to those around her because of that perseverance. So today, we've looked at the quotation from Winston Churchill, success, walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And we've seen that this is true as we interpret it to mean that perseverance is what leads to success. And we've seen how this is true through the biblical ideas of how we should persevere in this life, that we're not expected to be perfect, but simply to run the race well. We've seen it in the life of Belva Ann Lockwood, how she came against many obstacles, but persevered in a way that led to her success and the equality that we enjoy today. And lastly, through the life of Toru, and how even when society can look at you and think that your life is hard and full of obstacles, your optimism and perseverance in that is what will show that you are truly a successful individual and that you keep your heart and you keep your values. So as you go about finals today, know that even if they don't go quite as well as you want, you can still succeed.
That was a completely unmemorized speech that Sarah came up with in the minute and a half prep that she did over there. So one big round of thank yous and applause again for Sarah. All right, now moving into our third type of speech, which is an interpretive speech. We'll have Avery go ahead and come on down. The interpretive type of speaking is one where a student picks poems or proses or even some direct dialogue that comes from movies and interprets it to have a central message, in which Avery will do today for her prose.
Thank you, Doctor. You have been wonderful, but I never want to see you again. Is oddly the most common compliment that I receive. I'm an emergency veterinarian. That means that I see terrible things. When I have to tell someone the hard truth about the pet's condition and the poor prognosis that accompanies it, they become visibly different. Their eyes contort. Their previously steady voice cracks. And despite their stoicism, a tear escapes to roll down their cheek. The pain of pet loss is real because the emotions you shared with your pet were real. The grief associated with pet loss is valid because you didn't lose a thing. You lost a someone close, and someone special to you. Sometimes I think I'm tough, but then I remember that when my cat meows, I meow back at her and we have full-blown conversations. You would not believe the day she's had. However, this is not an original experience, as Forbes as of January 2024 tells us that over 2/3 of American households include a pet. That's 86 million families, with over 97% considering the pet to be part of their family. This is why the loss of a pet is so difficult. Dr. Caroline Finkel, licensed clinical social worker, tells us that one of the hardest parts of pet loss is talking to people about your animal dying, as they can often be dismissive or minimize it. This diminishment of pet loss only makes the grieving process harder. Our animals do so much for us. And in return, we must acknowledge that their loss is hard and that our grief is valid. Through the TED Talk, Pet Loss Grief, The Pain Explained by Sarah Hogan, the blog post Dealing with the Loss of a Pet by Jessica Riley, and How My Cat Saved My Life by Sophie Burkhart, More Than Man's Best Friend, a program, because all grief should be met with compassion so that we can. Stage 1, denial. While Oliver's death wasn't unexpected, the decision was made in just a few hours. And for me, that went from 0 to 100. Theoretical to fact, it was all way faster than my brain could handle. On the way to the vet's appointment, I already tried to convince myself that this wasn't happening or I was overreacting. Over the next couple of months, I convinced myself that I could hear his paws on the kitchen floor, or that I saw him walk into the room from the corner of my eye. I'd wake up and expect to see him, or wonder where he was when things were inevitably quiet. Gone are the days of lying in bed until noon. Luna has to be fed at 9 a.m. So that means I'm up at 9 a.m. ready to feed her and start my day at a normal person's time. My days now start with meows for food, soft pets, and coffee, rather than Reddit and lying in bed. Grief is a bona fide medical condition with documented symptoms. The American Psychological Association lists them. They are grief, insomnia, pain, and a feeling of profound sadness. This means that the pain you feel, the dysfunction you suffer after you've lost an animal, isn't just valid. It's normal. When I talk to people about pet loss and I explain to them that it's different than losing a human, they believe me because they feel it. But they don't know why it's different. It's different for two main reasons. The first is that our society tends to diminish the pain of pet loss. They act like it's almost theatrical, like you're grieving for attention. Stage 2, anger. For the first time in my life, I felt true anger. The thing that didn't help was the assumption that the grieving process for an animal is easier than that of a human, and the stigma around it in general. He was just a dog. Get over it. It was almost teenage-like, how I redirect my emotions and fire it at those who were just trying to support me. Well, now that my day started at 9 a.m. and Luna's having breakfast, it only seems right that I have breakfast too. Practice what you preach, right? When I go to grab her kibble, I now grab myself some bread or yogurt because her days have started earlier. You know, it's funny. No one questions our pet's ability to make us happy. I would say the 14 million cat videos on the internet cement that data. If our animals can make us so happy that we laugh out loud, then losing them can absolutely have the opposite effect and break our heart. The second reason that pet loss is different is because the relationship is different. When our pets look at us, they don't judge. They don't see our flaws. They look at us with their eyes and they say, "You are perfect and I love you." That is the most fulfilling connection to have. And that's what makes it so incredibly hard when those eyes go away. Stage 3, bargaining. I was looking for a way in which to get rid of the emotional roller coaster I was riding. I felt like I went from one extreme to another. I've been brought up Christian and believe in God, but don't really go to church. I found myself praying, trying to make a deal with God in hopes that it would end my pain. Lots of thoughts centered around the what ifs or if onlys. Luna has made my lonely days less miserable. She may not say anything and she sleeps all day, but the thought of having another person in the house just going about their day makes the house feel alive in the way only a pet can. They got you through a crisis with their calm presence, reminding you that you are loved and accepted. I can tell you in my own life, when I reached out for a hand, I found a paw. Stage 4. Question. Already a sufferer of anxiety, depression, this stage was the most intense for me. I found my old thought patterns creeping into the spaces left empty by Oliver's absence. Hearing or seeing other people's dogs made me break down on the spot. Why could other people still enjoy the love of their dogs when mine was gone? The common thread with most of these small things is that having to think about what's best for Luna makes me think about what's best for me as well. When I play with her to get her to exercise, I actually push myself to head to the gym and exercise. Our pets share our homes, not because they pay the mortgage, but because they fill it floor to ceiling with love and laughter. Their joy is just something to look forward to every single day. Page 5. Acceptance. I wish I could say one morning I woke up and felt completely fine again. But we both know that's unrealistic. Progress was slow and some days were worse than others. But eventually I started to see that there was some light at the end, very long tunnels. Before I started my grading process, I assumed that reaching the acceptance stage meant that you were over the death. I now know that's wrong. For me, acceptance means processing and understanding your grief and knowing what that means in your life now. My excitement for creating new memories doesn't take away my love for Oliver. I've come to realize that both can exist.
So much, Avery, what a beautiful piece to memorialize events. Now we have our debaters coming back. We're going to get started with our rounds. We have Owen and Ize walking in right now.
Yeah. Do you want to go? Fair. What my thought
They will time themselves. Each speech is a different length. They'll get times to give speeches, they cross-examine each other. Owen will start, and then Ize will follow the course.
If everyone is ready, sweet, let's get into it. And this is my first round for the day. Let's thank the school for hosting us. All of you wonderful folks for coming out. And my opponent will ensure to be a great round. With that said, I'm going to get into today's round. I'm in firm affirmation of today's resolution that laptops in college classrooms do more harm than good. This is going to be a fact round with a weighing mechanism of on balance. What that means is we are measuring it by more often than not, laptops in college classrooms do more harm than good. This all has a value of human flourishing, as in what is best for humans on a whole. Going through some definitions real quick, all from Oxford. A laptop is a portable computer that with a picture screen, touchpad, and alphanumerical keys. A college classroom is a room where college students are taught. A harm is something that causes damage or loss of value. And good is a benefit or advantage of something or someone. With all that out of the way, I'm going to get into my case. My first contention or general set of points is that it harms education. Once again, harms education. My subpoint A here is attention. Once again, attention. According to Inside Higher Ed, as July 9th, 2023, a study of the University of Waterloo in 478 students, 49% of them admitted that they were not using their technology in the classroom for academic study, but instead were actively using it for off-topic purposes. A professor there, Alina Knightman, said, quote, students feel like technology is necessary when classes are simply not engaging enough, purposefully using them as a distraction. This is further backed up by Science Direct in a 2020 study, showing that 80% of students agreed that multitasking in their class actually decreased their ability to pay attention. Science Direct again backed this up in a new study in 2023, finding that research indicates that laptops can significantly distract even students around them, as they'll often look up at screens and do other things that negatively impact their overall learning experience. What this clearly demonstrates right now is that when it comes to our attention in our classrooms, laptops are horribly detrimental, which brings me to subpoint B, that being grades. Once again, grades. According to the Stockholm University in 2022, students who consistently use technology in schools were correlated with having an overall lower levels of cognitive thinking and decreased social skills. The InterDrive study noted as 2023 in a meta-analysis of all device classroom-based studies found that device usage of any kind significantly lowered a student's overall grade by around 5%. This is further backed up by Harvard University, with a study by Patterson finding that students using a laptop in class were in significantly lower rates than those who did not. This brings me to my subpoint C, that being of cheating. Once again, cheating. According to the National Education Association, as of 2020, laptop use in in-person classes actively encourages cheating on assignments and tests due to the ease of access and information. With the National Institute of Health finding in March of 2023, more than 60% of college students admitted to cheating in their classrooms. This brings me to my second contention, that being of harms physically. Once again, harms physically. My subpoint A is that of eye strain. Once again, eye strain. According to Harvard University in 2021, laptops used in class can be actively detrimental to your physical health, with an increasingly physical strain from poor posture and along with that leading to severe eye strain. According to the National Institute of Health, 72% of students report experiencing eye strain after using laptops for a long period of time as a result of computer work, with them experiencing visual problems that can cause a 4 to 8% difference in performance. The U.S. State Health Center noted on August 3rd of 2020 that blue light like that from a laptop can cause retinal damage and is the leading cause of eye cancer. What this demonstrates is not only are laptops harmful to your own education, they're harmful to you as a person, which brings me to my final contention, that being alternatives. Once again, alternatives. My subpoint A is that of writing by hand. Once again, writing by hand. Writing by hand. According to the Lord's University as 2023, writing by hand causes a deeper cognitive processing when writing by hand. You are forced to actively select and condense information when engaging with more areas of the brain rather than typing. The Learning Sciences Organization as 2024 noted in a meta-analysis of 24 studies of handwriting found there was a clear physical benefit in performance for handwritten notes compared to typed notes, with those writing by hand receiving a 9.5 grade increase compared to their alternative. With all of this said, there is only a clear vote in the affirmative side today. I now stand open for cross-examination.
Okay.
Time starting now. The studies that you're citing, are those focused on high school students and college students, or are those all focused on college students specifically?
I painstakingly went out my way to make sure they were focused on college.
Okay, so the one citing about 72% with the poor posture in your third contention, that's college students as well, because you said students.
Yes, that should be college students.
Okay, should be perfect. And then would you see that there's other sources of blue light in classrooms?
There is potential for other sources of blue light, but a laptop is right up in your face. If you're taking notes or do something, you're staring at it almost the entire time, it would be significant.
Would you say that laptops are accessible for all students, like to be able to notes, if a student has it, it increases accessibility? Like if a student has a laptop and they maybe have something that they need for accessibility purposes, are they able to use that?
Oh, well,
Instead
according to the National Center of Education, 20% of college students potentially need a laptop. So the majority of students know.
Okay, it's like 72%, is that what you
20%.
Oh, 20%. Okay, perfect. And then looking at your definitions, do you have a definition for more?
I do not have a direct definition for more,
Okay.
no.
Perfect. And then would you say that there's other distractions in the classroom besides laptops themselves?
There is potential for other distractions, but I've clear shown is they are a significant distractor.
Six minutes on the clock. Is everyone ready? Perfect. My time to start now.
Seeing as this is my first speech of the night, I just want to thank everyone for being here. Obviously, it's something that's super fun. I love debating Owen, and I love that all of you are here. So let's get started. We're first going to start with the affirmatives or with the negations case. And then we're going to flip over to the affirmatives case and see how we're going to compute that. I obviously stand negation the resolution today that laptops in college classrooms do more harm than good, and we're going to show you that first. But let's first look at the burdens of today, as my opponent did not clearly lay this out. But this is going to hinge on the definition of more, which from Oxford Languages is a greater amount or degree of.
So what my opponent must show you today is that laptops specifically are causing more harm than good, not other distractions. And what we are going to show as a negation is that there are other distractions that are causing this to happen. So let's turn to the negations case. Contention 1 will be benefits. Subpoint A is going to be that of accessibility. Harvard Last Access Today said that students with dyslexia, ADHD, or visual impairments use laptops to take notes in classrooms. This allows them to take good notes and be a part of classrooms when maybe handwriting notes wouldn't necessarily be the best option for them. And if we take that away, or we ban that, or we consider that to be a big harm, then we're losing that accessibility for those students. Subpoint B is the quality of learning. Obviously, my opponent and I today are going to disagree on this, but Ohio University in July of 2018 said when they compared two sections of the same course, one banned laptops, the other allowed, the banned laptops led to lower quality of written work, lower attendance, and lower exam scores, and note-taking was worse without a laptop. Clearly, this shows that students that need laptops in order to take better notes. But also, the Canadian Journal of Learning and Technology in 2014 said that a survey revealed that college students, 70% of them, reported laptops in their class being helpful for their academic performance. So while this may be a source of a distraction, ultimately it's helping students take notes and it's helping them with their education. Then let's turn to subpoint C of group work. Seattle Pacific said in 2024 that they allowed more convenient group work and study. They can use platforms like Google Docs, Microsoft, and Word. So what we're seeing is that there's more platforms available to students overall. Contention 2 is going to be that this is a not unique problem. Laptops themselves can be a distraction, but there's bigger issues. Michigan State University in May of 2021 said that a study found that bringing a laptop to class does not increase off-task behavior. This can come from other sources. Subpoint A, top distractions. DY No, December 23rd of 2019 says that the top distractions in schools are cell phones, unnecessary talking, chewing gum, and handheld games. My opponent brought up the definition of a laptop, which does not include cell phones. So that leads us to subpoint B, which is mobile phones. Educational Psychology Review in May of 2023 said that mobile phones are the most misused device during class. 75% of undergrads reported regularly misusing their phones in the classroom. This just goes to show that clearly laptops can be a source for distraction, but they're not the major one, which means that they can cause more good than harm. So let's take a look at the negations case. Subpoint A, or their first contention, was harms to education. They bring up attention and they bring up this idea of grades as well as cheating. What we see with the negations case is that it's helping facilitate education. It's helping people that need accessibility with their note-taking, as well as helping people get better test scores. When we saw that comparison with Ohio University, clearly the exam scores were higher when the laptops were allowed, and the attendance was higher than when they took that away. So what we see is ultimately that this is helping facilitate education in the long run. And when we specifically to cheating, there are ways that students can, or that teachers can actually tamp down on this. There's ways that they can block search engines to be used, and they can make it so that students have to stay on task and have to stay on that browser, but also they could use their phones. And we're simply talking about laptops today. So if you're looking for cheating, there's other methods of cheating that can come from other sources rather than just laptops themselves. And then let's look at their contention 2 of their contention 2 that specifically looks at the health idea of it. They looked at eye strain as well as blue light. While the eye strain may be true, this can still come from other sources. Behind me is a projector. We are in a classroom. So we see is that there's clearly eye strain as well as bad posture, as well as blue light coming to us in our classrooms that's not specifically just from the laptops themselves. Also, as we saw, 75% of undergrads were using their phones. That has blue light, and that can cause people, if they're hunched over, trying to sneak it away from their professor, they could have bad posture too. So it's a non-unique issue, and clearly we can see that there's other benefits associated. Then let's look at their third contention and their subpoint A of writing by hand. This is not necessarily an accessible tool to many students. Many students, specifically when looking at that Harvard article in my subpoint A, Students with dyslexia, ADHD, or visual impairments use this to take notes so that they're able to, as well as access cloud-based assistive technologies, because writing by hand is not accessible to them. So laptops are not only not the major concern nor the major distraction, but they're helping students with accessibility and they're helping increase learning.
Oh, let me get set up here real quick. All right, if everyone's ready, let's get into it. All right, that was a great speech. I have a few quick questions for you. First off, repeat, what was your the definition you brought up for more?
That was from Oxford Languages, and it was a greater amount or degree of.
All right, thank you very much. And do you have an estimate on how many students could need a laptop in class for accessibility reasons?
No, I don't.
All right, thank you very much. And you brought up, what was it? You had a statistic, there we go. How many students use a phone in class?
Yes. That was 75% of undergrads reported regularly misusing their phones.
All right. So does that somehow counteract their ability to use a laptop as well?
No, but it's simply looking at the fact that there's clearly a major distraction coming from phones themselves and not necessarily from the laptops.
But they can both be a source of distraction, correct?
Yes, everything can be a source of distraction. Chewing gum or talking was also mentioned.
Oh, yes. What was the name of that source again? That you brought up for the chewing gum.
Yes, that was just no, in December 23rd in 2019, but obviously all of us being in classrooms regularly, we know that that's common.
And was that focused on college students specifically?
Yeah, that was just focused on the idea of what happens in classrooms.
On classrooms on the whole.
Yeah, that can be applied to colleges.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I do think that's all the questions I have for now. We got speech. My phone, stop doing it. All right. If everyone's ready, and my phone, sweet. Let's get into it. All right, this can be a fast round. We go over some things my opponent put up in their case, reaffirm my own case, and why you should vote for the affirmative today. Starting off, I agree to my opponent's new definition they introduced of more. I think it's relatively fair, and I'm willing to argue based on these grounds. Moving on to my opponent's first contention of benefits, they brought up accessibility as a point, and I agree. I think accessibility is good. I'm not saying that we should take away laptops. I'm simply observing that there are more fundamental harms than good. As I brought up, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, as of May 2023, 20% of college students potentially fall under the need for laptop use class accommodation, which in the end judges is fundamentally a minority of the overall. While there are students who need this accessibility and it is good to help them out with it, we should still be able to address the overall harms laptop use has for students. Moving on, I've also brought this quality of learning. They cite two sources, one from the Ohio University in 2018, and a second source I've got to write down. However, Judge, I brought up several sources on this, including two different meta-analyses that all go to say the exact opposite of what my opponent is bringing up. I brought up how specifically students who use laptops saw a 5% grade increase compared to their handwritten counterparts, and those using handwriting had a 9.5% higher chance of earning an A than those using laptops. Judges, fundamentally, what this shows today is that in class my opponent's evidence, I have significantly more evidence to show and significantly higher quality evidence compared to my opponent has brought up. This should float the affirmative side. Moving on to my opponent's second contention of non-unique, they brought mobile phones and how they're a significant harm. And I agree, I think cell phones are a significant harm. However, just because there is something else causing harm doesn't mean we should ignore the fact that this is still a harm. This is still fundamentally distracting students and having all these ramifications. Moving on to my own case, my opponent started off by addressing my contention one, noting how it helped, once they reaffirmed that it helped facilitate helped facilitate education. Once again, I wrote statistics showing how that is in minority students, and while that is an overall good, we should still be aware of the harms that come with this. My opponent also brought up how they, moving on to my second contention, my opponent brought up how there are other sources that could cause blue light. And well, once again, I agree, this is a non-unique argument. Laptops still emit light and still cause these harms. Finally, my contention of writing by hand, Lisa said it was not accessible to all students. To judge, once again, I agree. We see it as accessible to the majority of students, and students using this gain a direct and overall benefit, something my opponent was not able to respond to. So, Judge, going through everything we have seen today, we've seen how fundamentally the app has a case built upon numerous sources of high quality and meta-analysis, fundamentally showing the harms to using a laptop and the benefits to using handwriting. With all this in mind, Judge, I urge you today to vote for the affirmative side. Thank you.
Seeing as this is my last speech tonight, I once again want to say thank you to all of you for being here, as well as thank you so much. We're going to start with the negation side, flip over to the affirmatives, and finally finish up with some voters for why you should feel confident voting for the negation today. So let's look at the negations case and the affirmatives rebuttal in their speech. They bring up on my contention 1 of benefits, subpoint A of accessibility, that it's only helping the minority. But today we're looking at the idea of causing more harm than benefit or than good. And what the affirmative or the negation is going to show you is that ultimately this is creating benefits for all, including the minority of students. And what we see is that students with dyslexia, ADHD, as well as visual impairments are using this to access cloud-based assistive technologies, as well as help facilitate note-taking, which is ultimately helping them in the classrooms. So while it may only be benefiting a part of society, it's helping people overall, and it's helping the education of all students individually. When looking at subpoint B of the quality of learning, once again, that Ohio University in 2018 study where they compared the two courses, we see that lower quality of written work, as well as lower attendance and lower exam scores when laptops were not being used in the classroom, which ultimately shows that it's helping all students, even those that don't need the assistive technology. But then we also saw in that same subpoint that 70% of students themselves reported that it was helpful for their academic performance, which ultimately is showing that not only are the students being helped as well, but it's helping and it's not necessarily creating the distraction that my opponent wants you to believe. So that turns us to our contention 2, once again, where I said that cell phones may be causing an issue, but it's not the major cause, but it is the major cause. Laptops themselves are not the main distraction in courses, and they're helping to facilitate education. We saw that 75% of undergrads reported regularly misusing their phones in classrooms. Ultimately, what this shows is that while students are distracted, it's not necessarily coming from the laptops themselves, and these laptops are actually helping them and creating more good than harm. So let's take a look at the affirmatives case. Once again, on their contention 1 of harms, I brought up the fact that it's not necessarily, that the attention span isn't necessarily way, and it's actually helping to facilitate the students themselves. 70% of them are saying that it's helping their education. And then once again, we can see the idea of grades as well as cheating. This can come in other forms as well. If a student is cheating, they could just as easily cheat on their phone as well as they could on their laptop. So this isn't necessarily a unique idea to laptops themselves, as well as grades. If a student isn't paying attention because they're on their phone, they're not going to have good grades. Yes, this can come from a laptop, but also those laptops are providing benefits that you don't necessarily get in other ways. Then contention 3, and contention 3 of looking at their writing by hand. Once again, this is disproportionately affecting those who cannot do this feasibly. Ultimately, what this is showing is that we need to focus on the idea, while this may only be helping a minority of students, it's providing a benefit to all. If all students are able to accessibly access notes as well as do this, it's helping their education. It's not just helping those who need help with taking notes, it's helping all with education by facilitating learning. So let's take a look at some voters today, or why you should feel confident voting for negation. The first voter is going to be that of the burden. The affirmative must show you that there is more harm being caused than good. What the negation has shown you is that there is benefits associated to having laptops in the classroom. We have accessibility for students, as well as quality of learning and group work itself. It allows for them to be more convenient and steady, and it allows for them to use platforms like Google Docs, Microsoft, and Word. It's allowing for all students to have this benefit. Then let's turn to the idea of on balance. That's our weighing mechanism today, meaning more often than not, laptops are providing more good than they are harm. And we see that while it may be helping in small areas, this is ultimately helping the all of people. We can see it's helping with facilitating note-taking, as well as helping with written work and attendance in classrooms. And ultimately today, when looking at the main distraction within classrooms, it's not the laptops, it's the cell phones. And all of the harms that are listed by the affirmative can come down to the cell phones themselves. You can have blue light devices like this in our classrooms, as well as other forms that can come from that idea. And ultimately, the laptops themselves are providing good and they are helping students as well as people around. You should feel confident with it.
Good job, Officer. Oh, thank you. Probably need this.
You said he does. If everyone's ready, am I one? Sweet, well, that's good news. As my final round for the day, I'd like to once again thank this group hosting us. All of you lovely people being here, and my friend talking to me. Now, with that out of the way, I'm going to go over some things I offered up, reaffirm my own case, and get some voting issues. Starting off, going through my own case, my opponent keeps on bringing up this idea that cell phones are worse, and most of their responses, for example, in response to in most of their responses, for example, in response to my ice-cream, they say it's non-unique. It's non-unique. In response to my writing by hand, that it's non-unique in general. However, Judge, that's not the focus of the round. The goal is not something that it's non-unique. The goal is to show there is still an active harm. Yes, there is something that can cause the same overall effect. That doesn't mean we should ignore the fact that this is still highly prevalent within the classroom and still an active harm and detriment to these students. My opponent again reasserted in their case, their Ohio study, there are 2 studies they found. However, Judge, in my case, I wrote up 7 total studies showing the exact opposite, showing that students were more distracted and had lower grades when using laptops, one of which was a meta-analysis of numerous other studies. And going back to my point on handwriting, today I brought up 2 different studies, one of which was a meta-analysis of 23 other studies showing how, in general, handwriting boosts a student's performance and increases their chance of getting A by 9.5%. Judge, what I've fundamentally shown here today is that students receive far more when they do handwriting than using a laptop. Now moving on to some voting issues. My first vote for today said of more often than not. Once again, more often than not. My point brought up this definition in their word section saying that is the greater amount or degree. Something that went unrefuted this entire round was that only 20% of college students potentially need a laptop in class. This accessibility my opponent keeps focusing on. Which means, Judge, in the majority of cases, 80% of the time, this is simply not needed. Beyond this, what I have clearly shown is that, while yes, it can have benefits, more often than not, it is harming your academic performance, the academic performance of students, and harming your own physical health. Which brings me to my second voter, that being of human flourishing. Once again, human flourishing. In response to my entire point of how it harms your eye, my opponent only said that it is simply non-unique. There are other sources that can harm your eye. And while this is true, this does not address the fact that laptops still do this. Laptops, that the blue light is still the leading cause of eye cancer, and how continued use, such as using a laptop for notes in class, could be potentially harmful to these students. With all this said, today I can only see a vote for the affirmative side. Thank you.
Yeah, so much again for today. Great. So that pretty much wraps up our exhibition for today. We saw some platform speeches, some interpretive speeches, well, limit prep, and then finally wrapped up with some debate. If you have any questions or would like to talk to anybody, you can see our coaches, Mike and Mike. Or you can also talk to any one of the students that is currently on the team. We also have some information that I'll throw up here of our social media and their emails.
Projector on.
How do you think?
Okay, oh, wait, hit the button. There you go, okay. So yeah, follow us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, and reach out to Coach and Riley if you want to learn more. And anything else that you want to talk about the exhibition, I guess.
And then that comes into the control room, so you don't find out. And then there's one judge, and then it's the elimination rounds. So we will have 5 preliminary rounds, and then in the control room, we say, okay, here's 8 or 6